That we read. And we're just working back on it.
Stay there.
Yeah. That was Stevie. Okay. That's when they got me yesterday. Oh, you want to that's not too much trouble.
Now, 6:05 p.m. Here I'd like to call this March 21st regular call school board meeting to order. Ms. Brown, has the public been notified?
Yes, sir.
And I do confirm the quorum. Chair will ask for a motion to go into executive session for personnel matter.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion, we enter executive session for personnel matters, provided I get a second. A second.
Motion made by Ms. Harris, second by Mr. Jackson, go into executive session for personnel matters. All in favor, show by raising of the right hand. That would be 7-0, Ms. Brown. We will be doing entering the executive session, no longer than 6:30, but we don't have to go. You should be back shortly. Time to chair, we entertain a motion to exit executive session. No action were taken.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
make a motion, we exit executive session, no action taken.
A second.
Motion made by Ms. Harrison, second by Mr. Davis. Come out of executive session, no action, no action were taken. All in favor, show by raising of the hand. That would be 7. This time, just want to welcome everyone to our March 21st, 2023 board meeting. We thank you for your support. As I often say, take a village to raise child. And so at this time, we want to have our pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. Maybe see. And like approval of the agenda.
Search here. Search here. I'd like to entertain the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
There's motion. Motion made. Green, second. By Dr. Harris. We take approval of the agenda as presented. All in favor, show by raising the right hand. That would be 7. Secretary, do you have any public comment?
No, sir, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We're going to move now to our presentation and recognition. Dr. Avery.
Good evening.
Yes.
Tonight, we're going to recognize 3 of our office professionals who earned the nationally recognized Certified Educational Office Employee certification. The South Carolina Association of Educational Office Professionals, SCAOP, mission is to raise the standards of educational office professionals through education, recognition, and networking. The Professional Standards Program, PSP, is a voluntary certification program established by the National Association of Educational Office Professionals, NAOP, to encourage office professionals to grow professionally. It is my privilege to recognize the following office professionals, and if Dr. Green could come forward. The following office professionals were recognized nationally at the recent State Annual Conference for Office Professionals in Greenfield, South Carolina, for achieving their Certified Education Office Employee designation. First, we'll have Ms. Linda Alexander. Ms. Michelle Brown. And Ms. Javonda Brown. That's it. And then for this one.
All y'all take this with you?
So let's get these three pictures, or three individuals without the green. And we also would like to recognize the following office professionals who will be serving at the 2023-2024 Executive Board of the South Carolina Association of Educational Office Professionals. Ms. Cometta Tidwell, past president. Ms. Michelle Brown, Area 6 Director for Fairfield, Chester, and Lancaster, and Chair for the Administrator of the Year. And also Mr. Rhonda Brown, who is serving as President-elect.
Good evening. It's always a pleasure to be here to celebrate academics, and we've got a great one for you tonight. I'd like to ask Dr. Whitfield and her team to join us at the front. A wonderful crowd this evening. We are just so proud to celebrate academic success from Fairfield Magnet School this evening. 55 U.S. schools this year have been named 2022 National ESEA Distinguished Schools for the extraordinary success of their students. 2 schools were recognized this year from South Carolina. The National Association of ESEA State Program Administrators, formerly the National Title I Association, has been selecting examples of superior federally funded school programs for national recognition for the National ESEA Distinguished Schools Program since 1996. They celebrate the efforts of schools across the country making significant improvements. The program has annually acknowledged the success of schools in various categories, and Fairfield Magnet School was selected for the category of closing the achievement gap between student groups. Dr. Whitfield and members of her team, along with Dr. Avery and myself, were proud to attend the NAESPA conference with representatives from our State Department of Education in recognition of this designation. Congratulations, Fairfield Magnet School. Dr. Whitfield, would you like to say anything?
Yes, as always, thank you, board, for your support. A very special thank you to Dr. Green and Dr. Avery and Dr. Coughlin, and to my wonderful team. We found out, maybe last week we were gonna get this recognition, but they got an email on yesterday asking them if they would come, because what we do for children takes all of us, classified, certified, and anyone that represents our school. We represent what we do to make sure everyone in this nation knows that we have some of the best students in Fairfield County School District.
Did you say it was on, you wouldn't state? That's outstanding. That's outstanding.
One more.
Good afternoon, everyone. This year and every year since I've been here, we've partnered with the United Way of Midlands. And tonight we would like to recognize all of the departments that participated in this year's campaign. We want to thank you from the least to the greatest. Thank you. Transportation Department. Meager Elementary. Fairfield Elementary. Shelley Miller. Fairfield Middle. Fairfield Magnet. Gordon Odyssey. Macquarie Liston. District Office. And last but not least, the Fairfield Career Center. Yes.
Good. All right. Time. We'll get to the next, but I'm going to call board meeting. Minutes. Approve. Get a motion, please.
Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion, we accept the superintendent recommendation of the minutes from the February 14th regular call board meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Harrison, second by Mr. Gavin Davis, accepted February 14th regular call board meeting minutes. All in favor, show by raising of hands. 7-0. Superintendent report.
Chairman Miller, members of the board, pleasure to be before you today. A few items that I'd like to bring to your attention. First of all, we're in the midst of spring sports season. And as Dr. Hardy knows over there, the high school principal, that's the time of year where it appears as if something's going on all the time. So we got soccer going on right now. We got track and field going on right now. We have girls soccer and boys soccer, softball and baseball. And so there's always something going on at Fairfield Central High School. Dr. Squilly said the lights are always on. And we've added a new sport that we had last year, which is boys tennis. And so we've had girls tennis for many years, but we added boys tennis on last year. And our vision is that we try to provide our young people with as many opportunities as we can. And so rather than never played the sport before, the fact that they get the opportunity to learn the sport, they go out and enjoy the sport and compete against other schools, I think is a rewarding experience. And so if you have the opportunity to go out and visit soccer, softball, baseball, softball, tennis, please take the opportunity to visit our young people. They really enjoy it. Now, I am admittedly a soccer dad. And so my daughter plays soccer. And so I get the opportunity to witness the Fairfield Central Girls Soccer team on the record. And win or lose, they are so excited to be out there. And so they have a good time. And the parents obviously enjoy having them compete and just enjoy just the spirit of competition. And so we get an opportunity to please move out and check it out. Also, you might have read in the state paper, seen it on Twitter, seen it on Facebook, about the recent position that we took relative to our region competitor, Gray Academy. And so on last week, we played Gray Academy in soccer, softball, and baseball. And I attended the JV soccer game. And quite honestly, Ray brought the Fairfield Central knowledge an all-star soccer team. Softball team. It was really, quite honestly, a very unfair competition from my perspective. And this is not anything new. We have been talking about schools like Gray Academy who have the ability to just recruit people from all over the Midlands and develop these kind of all-star teams. And so I had a conversation with Dr. Swiller after observing that softball game and told Dr. Swiller that I would support a school's decision if they elected not to take Gray to move forward. And Dr. Swiller had a conversation with a couple of her coaches, and softball and soccer elected not to return to Gray on Friday. So we played them on Tuesday, but they elected not to play on Friday. Baseball elected to play on Friday. And so we provided each coach the autonomy to make that decision, okay? Now, some people weren't happy about that, and I got a call, and why were we making that decision? And their girls were looking forward to competing against our girl. So I guess that 15-0 win on Tuesday wasn't enough. We wanted to repeat that drubbing on Friday. But we supported our coaches, and so my position moving forward, even though they're in the same region that we're in, Because and I'm saying it is in all sports, because it's not necessarily in all sports that they created a superior competitive advantage. But in most sports, they have. And I feel that it is time for someone to take a stand against that. And so, if not you, then who? If not now, then when? It's kind of been my philosophy. So I said, why not us? And so we've taken that stand. And even though it is a region competition, as I told the principal of Red Academy, we are conceding the region championship to U.S. softball. And so we won't be returning to Gray. And this, quite honestly, is probably going to be a new norm, at least for Fairfield Central. I'll see how others want to respond to it. And so the Twitter world has been abuzz. Facebook has been abuzz, and people are talking about the position that we have taken at Fairfield Central. And Pastor Jackson, what kind of leadership do we have at Fairfield Central? That superintendent would embrace such a thing. Well, I embrace it. Okay. And we'll go further in terms of my embracing it, because as far as I'm concerned, this is just a start. I think this is going to have to result in some kind of conversation. Okay. And I don't, quite honestly, I don't have a problem with any student that wants to recruit an all-star team. I don't want you to compete against other schools that are recruiting all-star teams. Okay. And so if all-star team, if you want to recruit an all-star team, compete against other schools that are doing the same. But just for community schools like Fairfield Central, I think it's quite honestly demoralizing to our kids to a certain extent. And I can tell you, our coach, who elected not to return to grade, was not disappointed, and our players were not disappointed. And so we will stand with those who elect to take that position. I suspect there may be some other programs that elect to stand with programs that that don't feel as if it's a fair competition, just out of solidarity. And so people, I had someone from the state contact me to ask me about next year, and will we take that position next year in football, or will we take that position next year in basketball? We may, okay, we very well may, but I'm gonna leave that up to individual programs, those coaches and those players, if they want to take that stand. Now, obviously, if you took that stand in the region, you would be considering a region title, as I told the executive director of high school league, Jerome Singleton. Obviously, if we had to play them in the playoffs, then we would. Follow through and play them in the playoff. But we are taking a position relative to region play. And so I suspect there'll be lots of chatter about that stance. But this is something people have been talking about for years. Okay, this is not new. I mean, people have been talking about the competitive advantage for years, but people have simply been talking. When it's taken any kind of decisive action like we have in Fairfield. And so I look forward to where this goes. I suspect there'll be some members of the high school league to weigh in, maybe some members of the General Assembly to weigh in, and lots of people to weigh in. And so we'll see where it goes. But for right now, that's our stand. Any questions about that?
Mr. Chair, Dr. Green, not about that. We need to acknowledge Shamel. Oh, you got it on your book, but I was half asleep when I got the message, but when I actually read the message, it just gave me so much joy to know that this young lady run track at Fairfield, little old town in Fairfield, and was asked to compete in New York. And for her to be on the billboard, that just, and for her to be my family. And so I was so excited about that, and I asked Dr. Green and Mr. Miller, can we bring up and recognize that at one of the board meetings, but you can go ahead, Dr. Green, but I was just too excited.
Yeah, well, just to follow up on what Ms. Harrison said, Shamel Holmes, who was a junior at Fairfield Central High School, came in 5th in the nation in the 60-meter Nike indoor track meet. And when you say 5th in the nation, And so Chanel is obviously on the road to be a potential Olympian.
Yes.
Yes,
And
Lord.
she's on the road to be a young lady who can compete in the Olympics. And you know, it's so exciting to say that she is somebody from our community, development, who is competing on that kind of national stage. And to Ms. Harrison shared it with me, I didn't know that she was on a billboard in Times Square. And so that's big time to be on a billboard in Times Square. But I think that is only just the beginning for Chanel. As you remember, she is a state champion from last year. I suspect that she will be a state champion this year, and probably be a state champion her senior year. She is being recruited by all of the biggest track programs across the nation. So she will be probably one of the most decorated athletes. Surprisingly, when we think about decorated athletes, we think about football and basketball and some of these, you know, high revenue sports. But Chanel very well could be the most decorated athlete to come out there to kind of, yeah. Okay, and so continue to keep your eyes on this Chanel home to doing some absolutely remarkable. And as Ms. Harrison said, we were going to arrange to bring her to a board meeting possibly next month, so we can recognize her in person. Any other questions? All right, now we're going to the district COVID report, and as I always say, things look pretty good relative to the COVID report as far as we know. Okay, and so that's just based on the information that is provided to us. You'll see the week of March 13th to the 17th, we only had 2 student cases reported. The week prior to that, we had none. The week prior to that, we only had 1 case. And so, assuming that parents and students are providing us accommodation, pretty good relative to COVID-19. Always keep an eye on our staff cases. We had no cases this week. Last week. No cases the week prior. And I think maybe 2 cases the week prior to that. So you can see that. So still doing very well relative to staff cases of COVID-19 and student cases. We always monitor the numbers to see whether we need to make any adjustments to our protocol. As long as the numbers continue to trend the way we are, I think what we're doing is working pretty good. Any questions about COVID-19?
Any other questions? Okay. Are the students still learning?
I would probably say at elementary school a little bit more than high school. If I had to just kind of guesstimate a number, I mean, I would probably say in elementary, we might have, you know, half kids wearing masks. Secondary students, we might have 30% wearing masks. On that. So we have some who are still dedicated to wearing masks. Obviously, as time has gone on, people have become much more comfortable and kind of looking at it.
Anybody got any questions?
Now we're gonna move on to second and final reading and revision of board policy ADF wellness. And remember, this just puts in policy the actions that we partnered with Fairfield forward to put water fill stations in our facilities. Water fill stations in our facilities, and the fact that our horticulture program provides fresh fruits and vegetables at the local farmers market. So that is the second and final reading for that policy adjustment.
Take a motion, please.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion we accept the superintendent recommendation to approve the second and final reading revision to board policy ADF school wellness issue 617.
Second. Second. Motion. All in favor, everybody raise your right hand. That would be 7-0. Right, John?
All right, next, Chairman Miller, we have a board policy revision, a board policy administrative rule and request for the board policy KFR facility usage form. And the whole facility usage policy has not been updated and clarified. We had some things on there that were outdated. I mean, some of our fees, quite honestly, were severely outdated. We were charging $5 or $10. So we made some adjustments to our fees. Just some of the things that were in policy that we were no longer adhering to. We needed to make changes to. You know, a couple other things that we wanted to take a look at. We want to make sure that when someone requests use of a facility, that they understand that they have to be responsible for setting up the facility. And so in the past, that is something that has fallen on the staff. But we want to make sure we indicate very clearly that we may be willing to rent you to take the chair, but it's going to be up to you to make sure this set up the way you want to. And we also want to make sure that people who rent facilities understand that you need to secure a staff member to work certain events. So for example, if you are using the auditorium, and we had some problems with this, we had people who were going in the video or the audio booth, who weren't necessarily trained on the equipment and moving buttons and mashing and doing all kinds of things, and next thing you know, the system is working right. And so we are no longer going to have people just going in the booth who aren't trained on the equipment. We have to secure someone who's actually trained on the equipment. We will require that you have a custodian or someone who's on site to really address issues that come up. So some different things that we needed to show up in the policy. But I think most people would be receptive to what we put together. Any questions about the new proposal?
Dr. Green, you're saying that, for instance, let's go ahead and put the motion. Can I get a motion?
Okay. So Chair, I make a recommendation the board approve the first reading revision on board policy KF, community use of school facilities issued August 6th, administrative rule KF-R, community use of school facilities issued August 6th, and facility usage request form.
Second such motion.
Motion made by Ms. Green, second by Dr. Harrison to set the superintendent recommendation, the board approved of the first reading, revision of board policy KF, community use of school facilities, issued on 8-2006, administrative rule KF-R, community of the use of school facility, issued in August of 6th, facility use request form. Now, Dr. Green.
Yes, sir.
So what you're saying is that anytime somebody has to be trained, when Henry Miller can go in there and all that stuff using the township.
Yes.
So it has to be somebody trained, and so doing that, we would have to, they would have to pay somebody for their time.
And that's a very good question, Mr. Miller. And so someone would have to be, someone who is trained would have to man, for example, the sound system in the auditorium. There is a fee associated with having staff work events. And so this is something that we want to make sure happens in the future. When the board folks to waive fees, I want the board to understand all the fees that are waived. So sometimes the board waives fees, but you don't necessarily know all the fees associated. So we're gonna make sure we detail all the fees associated with the waiving fee. But for individuals who are requesting a fee waiver, if you want to utilize the facility, personnel costs will be outlined in those expenses.
You want to make sure, and we using custodian. Without the waiver, they have to pay.
They would have to pay.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna make sure it's clear. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, so Chair, that, your waiver, the the persons that are going to be manning the booth or whatever positions need to be manned, are they going to be from Fairfield County or can they bring in their own individuals?
No, ma'am. So, yeah, so for example, if someone is utilizing the auditorium and the sound system, then it needs to be someone who's trained on the sound system.
I think that's the good thing.
Any more questions?
That's it.
Pastor Jackson.
Yeah, I have a question about that same, in that same line. If somebody from the district has got to run the sound system, fees have been waived, is the fee for that person's time also waived?
No, sir.
No.
Yeah, that means the district is paying the fee. The district has to pay the fee. Yeah, so if the board waives the fee, it's not as if the fees don't have to be paid. So in other words, if somebody has to work overtime to work an event, they still going to have to be paid. The question is rather, the fees associated with the rental of supplement that cost, rather the district just supplement.
Chair. Dr. Green, so when somebody actually want to waive fees to rent the building, we can also not waive the fees to pay an employee because they have to work. When they're off, they don't want to work and not get paid, but I know the district is paying, but it's not fair. If they want to rent the building, we say, okay, we'll waive the fee for y'all to rent the high school gym, but you still got to pay the person that works. So I think that's the only thing.
Yeah, that's actually the point, Mr. Harrison, and so that's why I want the board to really see an outline of the fees that's being proposed to be waived, because you could do exactly as Ms. Harrison says, and say, well, we will waive all fees except the personnel fee. Okay, and so if the personnel fees ended up being $75, you may say, okay, we're gonna waive the building usage, we're gonna waive everything else except the $75 personnel. And just tell them you have to pay that. So that's actually the point.
But however, I want also that, say for instance, they are working that day and they, they're on 260 days. We waive the fee where they already are being paid, so to speak. I get that y'all work that out pretty much.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Mr. Miller. You're saying that if it's during a time that they're on contract, that they're working, then we wouldn't charge the fee. Is what you're asking?
Definitely.
Yeah. And that's true. But what I think we'll find is most of the requests are obviously during times that staff is not going to answer. It's normally the weekend, it's normally an evening, it's normally another time. But in the event that it was no time, staff was working, and obviously we would. Staff was working.
Any more questions? That means we just can't. That the superintendent recommends the board approve the first reading of revision board policy, KL, community of use school facilities. Administrative rule KLR, community use of facility, issued on August 8th, and August the 6th, consider you request form. All in favor, show by raising of the right hand. That would be that. Dr. Green.
Yeah.
Mr. Robinson, item 1.
Yeah, but Mr. Robinson passed it on to me. We might tag him in a little bit. But we have been talking about making an adjustment to our salary schedule for probably a couple of years now. And primarily because we recognized that we needed to do some things to show up the compensation for our classified staff members. Unfortunately, what has happened over the last several years is that the actions that have occurred from the General Assembly have primarily addressed teachers and bus drivers. Okay, when you look at the budget proposed by new state superintendent of education, Ellen Weaver, the two categories of employees that she mentioned were teachers and bus drivers. All right. And those are very important categories. But we recognize that there are many more people who are responsible for making this organization run. And while we have done a relatively good job of trying to move the ball forward with those categories, we have fallen in line with virtually everyone else. And so this proposed salary scale adjustment is primarily addressing everyone except teachers and bus drivers. And let me be clear, the reason it's addressing everyone except teachers and bus drivers right now is because the General Assembly has already made a proposal to do an increase for teachers and bus drivers next year. Now, we don't know what the final numbers will be, and we will pass that along to teachers and bus drivers, but we've already had a $2,500 increase put in the House budget for teachers. So right now, the House has already put a $2,500 increase in the budget for teachers. They've already put about a $2 increase for bus drivers in the House budget. Now the budget is in the Senate, and the Senate will either concur with what the House has proposed, which they never do that, or they'll come up with an alternative budget, and then they'll meet somewhere in the middle. I am so excited that Senator Bannon, who represents Fairfield County, and Senator Davis, they are proposing a $6,000 increase for teachers. Okay, now a $6,000, and this Senator Bannon told me he wants it to be a line item in the budget where we know it's funded, and not necessarily when you say it's a $6,000, you're gonna pay for $6,000. So we want to give it, and we want to pay for it, all right, and not be like an unfunded mandate. So it would likely what will happen is that it'll be somewhere in between those. Okay, I don't suspect it'll be 25. I don't expect it's necessarily be 6. It'll be somewhere in the middle if I had to take a guess. But so it's not that we are addressing teachers and bus drivers. We just know that they are being addressed through the General Assembly. All right, and once the General Assembly is in the process, then we'll pass that on to those respective groups of employees. Everybody else is who we are addressing in this proposal. And as you see, it is relatively a substantial increase. We estimate that that increase is going to cost about $1.27 million. And I've already shared with board members that I have a Google that Kevin, who has his hand and on the steering wheel, and so I know we're in good shape. And we wouldn't do it if we couldn't afford to do it. I think most people will be pleased as you look at kind of the difference in ranges, because I don't have how it would affect any individual employee, but you'll see kind of how the range has been expanded. It varies because you have varying contract ranges, all right? And so you have some people who may work 190 days, or somebody else might work 260 days, 245 days. And so obviously their increase will be markedly different. Okay? Another change we made was we added a 23rd step to the classified scale. As you remember, the classified scale only went 22 steps. Right. Even though the teacher scale had moved up to 23 steps. So now the classified scale goes up to 23 steps as well. Like I said, I had a conversation with several individuals over the course of this year alone about when we were going to make a proposal to address the classified salaries. I think this is a good first step. I think most people who look at how this will impact them will say, they didn't do too bad, and think they'll be pleased with it. That means that we don't have some more work to do. We'll continue to always improve in that regard. But I think most people will be pleased with the step that we have made this year. We are going to pay for it primarily through attrition, in addition to receiving a little bump in revenue. Okay, so we got a bump in revenue from the nuclear facility based on where we were in the previous year. But primarily what we're going to look at doing is not filling some positions. Okay, not that we're telling them when we don't have a job, but as people retire, resign, we're asking the question, is this a position that we need to fill? All right, and so I already know there's some people who are retiring that we've determined that we aren't going to fill those positions. we can become a more efficient operation. So I don't want anyone to worry about the superintendent brought us this $1.2 million proposal, and we won't be able to pay for it in a year. That's not the case. If we would bring it to you, we can pay. And I want to tell the staff, we are still doing this while maintaining the retention bonds. $5,000 and $3,000. So we are doing all we can to look out for the employees. Any questions about the phone?
Any questions?
Yeah.
Can I get a motion, please?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
make a motion, we accept the superintendent recommendation to approve the proposed salary scale.
A second.
Motion made by Harrison. Second, David. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, any questions about that? I've seen a lot of problems with questions that they have for me.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Dr. Green, when will this take effect if everything goes as planned? Was it?
So this will take effect in the new fiscal year. And so, July 1, once we start the new fiscal year, that will be in effect.
Well, it's been a long time coming, and I appreciate you and Kevin and all y'all doing, making sure our staff, is getting more money, because it's been a struggle for a lot of them, and a lot of them been talking about it for years, so I appreciate y'all.
Anybody question? Salary? Doc, I have a question. You talked about the 23 years moving, and I appreciate the 23 years. Will we ever get back to the 28 years?
Yeah, that's possible. That is possible. And I know a lot of people that ask why do we have a salary scale that ends in terms of steps before people get retired. And this is something that happened obviously years ago here, where they tried to truncate.
I was just getting on the board.
They tried to truncate that. And so I guess some of the purpose of a truncated scale that you get to the top of the scale faster. But then you don't have room to move. All right. And so some people would argue, would you prefer to get there faster, or would you prefer to stretch it out when you have room to move? Ideally, folks would say, well, I want to get there fast, then I want to have room. It will walk. So most people are more focused, and so that is obviously something that we can consider, Mr. Bill, as we try and work within the confines of the revenues that we have, but that's something we are on the radar as well. We moved up 1 year.
I just like to say that, Doctor, and sometimes you get a chance to go into school, and you talk to the cafeteria worker, and you talk to custodians, talk to the teachers, assistants, they want to know it, I think this right here, I told them that Dr. Green and the staff are working on this, and we would have by July 1st, and I'm glad to see it. I really am, and I'm sure they'll be glad to see it. I'm just saying everybody, it just wasn't them, but those are the ones that it's like they're paid the less. So of course they would be interested. Any more questions? Let me reinstate. Accept the superintendent's recommendation for the board approve the first reading.
So
No, that's wrong.
not perfect.
I'm just flying the paper. Superintendent recommended that the board approve the proposed salary scale. All in favor, still by raising the right hand. That would be 7. Now, we all can go out and park. If you didn't vote for it, they can be on it. They can be on it. Okay.
Chairman Miller, before I began my board actions, it was brought to my attention that we did not recognize Fairfield Central High School during our United Way presentations. So at this time, I'd like to go ahead and recognize Fairfield Central High School. So Dr. Hardy will come forward along with Ms. Cooper. Our apologies. And and Ms. Sullivan is going to take the picture.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hardy. And that was really, I know you're watching, please accept our apologies. We wanted to make sure all of our schools were recognized this evening. Thank you, Chairman Miller. The first item under curriculum and instruction is the out-of-state field trip request for Fairfield Central High School. And the Fairfield Central High School football team will be participating in an annual 7-on-7 tournament at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville on June the 8th. Through June the 8th, departure will be 5 a.m. and they will return on June the 8th at 8:00 p.m. And this is a out-of-state field trip request.
I make a motion, we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the out-of-state trip request for Fairfield Central High football team.
Second such motion.
Motion made by Ms. Harrison, second by Dr. Harris, to approve the superintendent recommendation to approve the out-of-state trip request for the Fairfield Central High School football team. All in favor, show by the raising of the right hand. That would be 7. Dr.
The second item under curriculum and instruction is the approval of the locally designed elective courses for local board approval for Fairfield Elementary, Keller Miller Elementary, McCory Liston School of Technology, Fairfield Middle School, Fairfield Central High School, and Gordon Odyssey Academy. These locally board approved courses consist of courses that you all have approved previously, with the addition of some new courses for the 2023-2024, which are career readiness prep, the 11th grade AVID elective, and the 12th grade AVID elective, along with the physical education with weightlifting course 1, 2, 3, and 4 that were offered this academic year.
Motion.
Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion, we accept the superintendent recommendation to approve the locally designed elective courses for the 23-24 school year, along with the courses denoted for the 22 and 23 school year.
I second.
Motion made by Ms. Harrison, second by Ms. Green, to approve superintendent recommendation for approval of the local design elective course for the 23-24 school year, along with the course noted for the 22-23 school year. All in favor, show by raising the right hand. That would be, thank you.
And board, Chairman Miller and members of the board, the last item is for your information. Once you all approve the calendar, we had to send our calendar to the State Department of Education for review. So based upon their feedback, they wanted us to go ahead and include inclement weather days based on an outdated state statute. So I've added to the calendar November 20th of 2023, May 30th, 2024, and May 27th, 2024 And because we are an e-learning district, we actually will not actually be utilizing the inclement weather days. But because of the state statute that is still in existence, they wanted us to go ahead and add these dates to our calendar. So in board docs, you will see a updated calendar with the inclement weather days identified. And there are a total of 3 of them. But of course, this is just for your information. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Operation finance.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Under Operations and Finance, the first item you have is the finance report for the month of February. And things look pretty good for this time of the year. We actually, as Dr. Green alluded to, we are actually doing well with our tax revenues for this point. We're really ahead of where we thought we would be. We have seen an uptick in revenues, especially with the company itself. So we look to be pretty good for this year. We should have a small surplus at the end of the year. And everything looks normal. Any questions?
You said small, revenue.
Yeah, I'll say probably right now about 250,000 in terms of surplus. And, as we get closer, I'll be able to give a debt projection.
No more questions? Well. You're right here.
Okay. And the second item, the board agenda, the operations and finance, have a budget hearing timeline for our budget for next year. Now, typically we do 3 readings for the board and then 1 public hearing, and normally we do the reading beginning in April, then May and June. Because of our board meeting is scheduled for April the 4th, it's a little early to be able to provide a really fairly accurate budget. We just received some projections this week on revenues from the state, and based on the board action this evening with the salary schedule increase for next year, now we have to plug those numbers in. So we wanted to propose a first budget reading of April the 25th, which would give us adequate time to be able to plug in the state projections and the new salary scale for next year. Other than that, the other 2 readings are during regularly scheduled meetings in May and in June, but the April meeting, of course, would require a call meeting of the board, and the 25th, of course, is not sufficient, and any other day that's suitable with the schedules.
What is the timeline for having everything in? I see our last meeting would be June 13th. What is the timeline for the 3rd reading?
Typically, we have to have our local village to the county by the 15th of June. So that's generally why we have the 3rd reading prior to then, which enable us to give them the figures they need for the village. You have questions on?
Now, another one, facility use.
So the final item is
Chairman, Bill, members of the board, so that call meeting date is fine with everyone?
Yes.
It's good, okay, all right.
And that would be this meeting on the 4th, it's a regular school board meeting. The meeting on 25th is, right? That's a special call. Just want everybody to know what to kind of know.
the third item under operations and finance is a facility usage request. And the superintendent recommends the board approve the waiver of fees for the Fairfield County Disabilities Board usage of Fairfield Central High School auditorium Friday, March 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. And there is, in the attachment, the facility usage request, along with the aforementioned fees that would be waived if the board approves.
Get a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the waiver of fees for the Fairfield County Disability Board usage of Fairfield Central High School auditorium on Friday, March 24th, 2023, from 6 to 8 p.m.
I second.
Look at it, say, except for the charge that we're gonna charge them.
They on the old one. It's on the old one.
It's on the whole house.
It's on the old house.
That's what they were wanting, that's fine. Motion made by Ms. Harrison, second by Mr. Davis. For the facility usage, superintendent recommends that the board approve the waiver of fees for the Fairfield County Disability Board usage of the Fairfield County Central High School auditorium on Friday, March 24th, 2023. On 16. All in favor, show by the raise of the right hand. Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Ms. Sullivan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Good evening.
This evening, under Human Resources, item 1, which is certified resignations and terminations. The superintendent recommends the board approve certified educator resignations and terminations to be effective at the conclusion of the 2022-23 academic year. This is presented in Exhibit 1.
Mr. Chair, I recommend that the board approve the certified educator resignation termination to be effective at the conclusion of the 2022-23 school academic school year or academic year as displayed in Exhibit 1.
Second such motion.
Motion made by Ms. Green, second by Dr. Harris. That the superintendent recommendation the board approve certified resignation termination to be effective at the conclusion of the 2022-2023 academic school year. All in favor, show by the raising of the right hand. That would be seven. Okay.
Next, the superintendent recommends the board approve certified professional educators for the 2023-24 academic year. This is presented in Exhibit 2.
Make a motion.
I make a motion, we accept the superintendent recommendation to approve certified professional educators for the 23-24 academic year.
A second.
Who made second? Green. Motion made by Ms. Harrison, second by Ms. Green. Superintendent recommendation to approve certified professional educator for the 22-23 academic school year. Exhibit 2. All in favor, show by raising of the right hand. That would be 7-0. All right.
Thirdly, the superintendent recommends the board approve certified professional administrators for the 2023-24 academic year. These recommendations are presented in Exhibit 3.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we accept the superintendent recommendation to approve certified professional administrators for the 23-24 academic year.
Second such motion.
Motion made by Ms. Harrison, second by Dr. Harris, to accept the superintendent And approve certified professional administrator for the 23-24 academic school year. Exhibit 3, professional certified administrator. All in favor, show by raising the right hand. That would be 7.
And lastly, under item 4, this is first reading for new unencumbered time policy GCLE. In accordance with state law, the district will require the principal of each elementary school to provide at least 30 minutes of unencumbered time to all full-time instructional staff teaching in grades K through 5 and to instructional staff of any elementary, middle, or high school responsible for teaching a special education class for more than 20% of the school day with students who are removed from the general education setting. The following definition will apply to unencumbered time. Unencumbered time is defined as 30 minutes during the regular workday where teachers are provided time that is self-directed and free from assigned duties or responsibilities, including direct instruction or supervision of students. The unencumbered 30 minutes of time must not include parent-teacher conferences, bus duty, IEP and 504 meetings, team meetings, professional development activities that are not self-directed, and managing or supervising the transition of students to and from activities, classes, lunch, recess, or any other activities. For item 4, for first reading of this policy, the superintendent recommends the board approve first reading for the new unencumbered time policy, GCLE. This is presented in Exhibit 4.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we accept the superintendent recommendation to approve first reading for the new unencumbered time policy, GCLE.
I second.
Motion made by Mr. Harrison, second by Mr. Darrell Davis. Who's first reading of the new unencumbered time policy, GCLE. All in favor show by raising of the right hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Time comes to board chair report.
Mr. Chair, on item number 2, under human resources, there is a correction for the academic year. It should be 23-24 academic year. It was read 22-23 academic year.
Great. It was brought to my attention, and I got all about to ask you, some parents wanted to know where is the metal detectors located in high school, and are they turned off at a certain time of the day and not being monitored? Because that's what they was told, but I told them I didn't know.
Yeah, so we got metal detectors that are located, there are 3 of them at high school, one coming from the Bridge Center, one in front of the building, and one by the bus lot. I'm not familiar with any time that they are turned off. I have to verify the time though that was answered. Yeah, but I need to check.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Ms. Brown, you were talking about, Exhibit 3?
No, sir, exhibit 2, certified professional educators. It should be the 23-24 academic year. The board voted on 22-23 academic. So that correction,
Should have been
23-24.
That's, we want to spend that motion. We need to send it. Just make a correction, then recommend to the board approve the certified professional administrative diploma. I'm at one here.
Educators, yes.
Yeah, from 23-24 academic school. We need to vote again.
No, sir.
Okay, which is my question. Okay. Thank you. Check it out. Now we at the board chair report, this, things that's going on, in the community, this, as we look at the magnet school, but that great honor tonight. That is, you know, only 2 schools in South Carolina, they call it Title I school. That's a great thing. And all the things that we're doing, in all the other schools. Any board members had anything else? Ms. Harrison?
I just wanted to say that, my gala that I had, last month was an absolute success. I was kind of worried, Dr. Green, because the food was so high. But we exceeded what I've been doing in the past, 10 scholarships. We actually gonna do way more than that, because of the money that was even just donated. But Dr. Green, I just want to take the time out to thank you, because whether you realize it or not, people pay attention, and they said to me, Dr. Green is always there. He always shows up, and you do. And I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate, you know, everybody that supported my gala. It's for the children. It's not about me. It's not about anybody in my family, because everybody knows in my family, you will not get the scholarship if you are close to me. So they know that. And I don't even choose the scholarship. I have a committee that has nothing to do with Fairfield County. They don't even live in Fairfield. They don't even know the kids. So to make it fair, you know, that's why I choose it that way. And I appreciate everybody. I was just overjoyed. I was like, oh, I was so worried about this food price. My sister told me you had too much, but me, I like to have more than enough. They ate seconds and they took food home. And we had close to 300 people there. So I really, really appreciate everybody. And I hate Dr. Martin left, because I wanted to thank her for being a part of my daughter's life. May 6th, we will have a doctor in the family. And Dr. Martin was a part of that. She was one of her principals, and I truly appreciate it. We all excited because we don't have a doctor in our family. She's trying to go to California, though, but I appreciate it. And Mr. Stevens, he was part of my kid's life, and so Ms. Green down there, I appreciate it. And she gave us the Henry because when she graduated, because she said she wasn't coming back. But I appreciate, you know, I really truly appreciate everybody that was part of my daughter's life. And I'm gonna stop up there and tell Dr. Martin that, because she had her in middle school. And she did a great job coming through Fairfield. That goes to show you that, you know, kids leave here, they do well. Yes, they do well.
Make sure you have her contact.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. And also, she was supposed to come April the 24th, but because of her intern, she contacted Danielle, Ms. Miller, Ms. Harris, about alternating her date. So she's gonna come sometime in May. And I'll let y'all know if you wanna come on there and listen to her. But yeah, well, the Post wrote about me, but the other paper didn't, so it's fine. But the Post did an awesome job too, so I think that by the time I emailed her that morning, Ms. Chisholm, she said, oh, I already got the information. Don't worry about it. Mike Fanny took plenty of pictures.
I would just like to ask, you had mentioned that there's a lot of activities going on during this time of season. When we had football and all those other activities, if possible, could you email us some dates of the different activities so that we'll know when and who's having those sport activities? Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, Dr. Green, and then, forgive me, I may should have asked this question earlier, but can you just give us a brief update on Teachers Village?
Yeah, Dr. Harris, I appreciate you asking that. We're still very excited about the prospect of construction beginning for what everyone is excited to hear about in Fairfield County. The teacher village and accommodate staff members. And so we ran into a few snags relative to DOT and DHEC and some ordinances with the town of Winsboro, but we have finally worked our way through all of those hurdles. And so now we're at a point where we're out to bid for some of the infrastructure work. Initial bids have come in a little more than we had anticipated, so we are seeking some other proposals. But we expect that you will start to see land being cleared and infrastructure on the way very, very soon. And the only reason that it is not started as yet is because the anticipated bid prices are a little bit more than the engineers initially shared with us. And I think that's a function of a couple of things. Number one, after the county made us adjust the project a bit, it caused, I mean, not the county, the town of Winsboro had us to make some adjustments to the property that caused some of the prices to increase. And also we were at a period where there are lots of construction going on. So I think the firms feel the latitude to charge a little bit more than they were charging in maybe in previous times. But we're optimistic that we're gonna find a good price that really fits within our budget. And so we are still shooting for our first homes being prepared and ready to move in by the first part of 2021. But that's still on.
That sounds good, and it's a opposite. All our way that we're gonna press this about good. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Made by Mr. Harrison, second by Ms. Green. All in favor, show by the raise of the right hand. Meeting adjourned.
Oh, my God.